Hello and welcome back to the Real Music Talks. Today's guest is Elijah Beckham, all the way from the US. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing today, Dan?
Yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, it's the evening over here. What's the time where you are?
It's actually 12 noon here.
Ah, jealous. So for the people that are listening that don't know you, how would you describe yourself and your involvement in music?
Uh, you know, uh, Obviously I'm Elijah Beckham. I perform under the name EDUBB302. You know, I'm a hip hop artist slash songwriter. And I'm all the way in, man. I got my foot on the gas. The goal is to break through. I have a sound unlike anybody else. And the way I've been, capturing my fans is with authenticity and, being vulnerable, letting them into my real life.
That's amazing. And how did you first get into music? Do you want to talk me through like your story, like how did it all start for you getting into hip hop?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Initially, I got into music as a young boy, man. We used to sit and you know how it is, yeah, your little freestyle battles and you know, uh uh I was always a music fan. I grew up in a household that was, a heavy hip hop and R&B household, oldies but goodies, gospel music. So my whole life I've been a fan of music. But when it actually started to, resonate in my life was when, I found myself incarcerated. I sat down, I did 5 years in prison. And during that time, music was my therapy. So when I would be sitting in the cell, I mean, I remember we used to be put on lockdown sometimes. Man, one time, uh, it was a security issue with fentanyl getting into the jail. So we ended up being on lockdown for like 90 days. I mean, for 90 days, you came out your cell for a half hour to take a shower. And, twice a week we got to come out for a half hour to use the phone. And during that time, it was extremely stressful. I had family home, I had young kids home. I couldn't talk to them, so I used to always sit in the stress. Well, during that time, start writing, and the writing became my therapy. And then from there, it was a plan. It was like, when I get home, I'm doing music. I can't wait to get home and do music. However, once I got home, real life hit. I came home now, my kids was older, you know, I was trying to, find gainful employment, you know, uh, get back and forth to work. I mean, it was just like, all them plans that I had for the day that I got released. I came home in 2019. So all them plans I had for when I got released, they were derailed. It was like, all right, cool. I got to get back on my feet. I need to find a house. I need to, you know, get money, and not necessarily in that order or whatever. So, long story short, uh, 3.5 years later, I ended up one day, I was with my wife's family, and they're all from New York, and they were like, yeah, man, he said you rap, let me hear you. So I start rapping and they were like, yo, you're good, man. You never recorded before? And I was like, nah, I've never recorded before. I had never been to a studio. They said, go to a studio. So I went and I had a really, really, really good session, man. In my Spotify catalog or Apple Music, wherever. If anybody want to know the first song I recorded, it was called Real Talk. And when it came out, it was fire, it was crisp, so I had a lot of people saying, man, yo, man, we miss music where we understand it. And I felt that song. I had guys reaching out to me from prison like, yo, bro, I heard your song. This song is crazy, man. I felt it. He said, you said I ain't even got any write-ups. I got hit again. I'm like, yo, listen, that's the reality, when you vulnerable and you speaking, true life things that people were actually going through. So next thing I know is like, look, I'm gonna make it a full-time thing. And I just grew a lot faster than I expected to.
That's an amazing story. So that connection that you have with the music, obviously, that really sort of impacted your style in terms of how you write. And like you said, it resonates with other people because they can hear that in the music and they can have the same connection that you've got to it. But it's amazing that you found that in prison. Do you think that gave you a lot of, I guess, motivation and hope, like having the tool, that outlet where you could express how you were feeling and, like you
Yep.
said, give yourself some therapy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Therapy. I call it therapy for the soul, man. Anything you going through, I always remind myself, man, if I'm going through it, somebody else going through it too.
100%. And that's the beauty of music. And I guess it must have been a bit of an experience coming out and then going into the studio. Was it a case of you took some of those songs and lyrics from your experience in prison and took them into the studio, or did you continue to just write and write and write, and then finally you were like, okay, this is the song I want to record now?
Yeah, I literally I've recorded one song that I wrote when I was in prison, and that was because it was a personal day. I don't even want to speak on it because now I think back and I'm like, why did you do that? But it was, I felt wronged when I was in there, so I did one song when I came home. But anything you hear now is new music, new experiences. It's my life path, my growth. And that's what I like too, man. If you listen to, when I first came out to now, the growth is evident. It's like I'm constantly evolving mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And right now I just want to make music that, like I said, that people can really, really connect to, and feel uh uh you know, deep down in a soul. I don't want to give them an option. I want them to feel it.
Makes total sense. Do you want to talk us through like your songwriting process? So how do you go about coming up with ideas for songs, writing lyrics, and then, turning that initial idea into like a fully fledged song?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Completely honest with you, what I normally do is I let the beat speak to me. You have a lot of artists that they write and then they find a beat for it. I have multiple producers I deal with. I mean, that I really, really deal with on the regular D-Light Beats, Ryan Jade, the list goes on. The list goes on. Zane 98. I got a lot of producers that I personally deal with. And normally what I do is I'll get a beat pack, I'll listen. I'm like, and sometimes, I mean, it might be even as, humming lyrics. That's how I get my cadence. I'm over here like, oh, okay, you know what? That's gonna sound good on there. Now I gotta make it make sense. Okay. So now I think of next thing I do is think of a life experience that I went through, or even how I'm feeling right now at that moment. Like I just made a song. It's called Go Out and Get It. Go out and get it. It don't matter if you work a 9 to 5 in the kitchen, all right? And I said that one time, and I was like, oh, that's it. I'm like, what? Listen, I said we all have the same 24 hours, right? And I don't know what it's like in the UK, but I live in Wilmington, Delaware, man, and I can't go to one of the corner stores without somebody saying, "Hey, man, when you come out, you got some change I can get, or can I get $1?" And I used to feel like obligated, right? And I'm sure it ain't just me, like, because you feel like, you do good to get good, right? So I used to always be like, oh man, I got you, bro. But then out of nowhere, it just hit. I'm like, man, listen, I had to grind from the bottom, man. I mean, and I've been through a lot, man. Before I got incarcerated, man, I battled everything from drug addiction, you know what I'm saying, to gambling, to violence, trying to be a father at the same time while living this life I was living. So it's like, no, nah, I'm done. You got the same 24 hours I got. I had to go get it, go out and get it, and then from there, I was like, that's what I'm riding. I'm riding this. So in that entire song, I'm telling people, go out and get it. Despite what you're going through, you know, you gotta want it. You still have 24 hours a day to be productive and to go get yours. And that's what I wrote throughout the whole song while implementing, my life into it, things I've been through and how I used to choose the easy route, and it ultimately ended up me choosing the hard route.
Totally agree with what you're saying. And at the end of the day, everyone's having different journeys and have got different experiences, different cultures, different walks of life. But no matter like where you're at, because everyone has their struggles, you can always make the choice to improve, whatever that is, even if the slight difference, a slight better decision, and over
Yeah.
time, that amounts to such a big change in your life. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's amazing you've had that experience and been able to push that into your music. I mean, you talked about all the different producers that you work with. How do you sort of find those people to network with, and what is it that makes you want to work with a certain producer?
Well, see, I'm real. I'm a social type. I'm good with people, and that's from even when I was in the street. I, Although I was in the street, I also worked a job where I did customer service work. I did a lot of talking to people, and because of that, I reach out to people, man. The goal is network, 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 network. No matter what I'm doing. If I'm out to do a performance, I'm networking because you never know who you around. So even times when, let's say I go to a venue and they're like, "Oh man, we want to book you for this show. Come on out, man. Oh man, we're gonna have a huge crowd." And I get there and there's 6 people. Guess what? When you love what you do, you're gonna give your all. So guess what? Them 6 people about to get a show that's grand. It's crazy. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be epic. And that's the attitude I always carry. So with that being said, I notice I attract a lot of people to me. I get a lot of producers in my inbox. Hey man, I want to send something over to you. Check it out. And then when it comes to my beat selection, you know, uh, I like to record, really, really, really crisp and clean sounding vocals. So I want a real crisp and clean sounding beat also. It's nothing worse than, as an artist, my production is grade A, and I'm on a beat that's just not there. And that's what you find these days. You get a lot of producers that are dope producers. They're amazing producers, but the actual quality isn't there. Whether it be the programs they're using, the instrument selection, things like that. But yeah, because of the way I go about it, I develop relationships with these guys, and then from there, it go from, because I used to do the beat stars when I first started rapping, and then I was like, nah, I need to feel a little more connected to these guys. So yes, now it's like, hey, what's going on, man? Look, let's put a project out together. Let's work. I want to do 3 or 4 songs on your beats. And it's like, all right, yeah, we could do that, man. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we'll talk the logistics or whatever. Do you want me to pay you up front? Are you going to make these exclusives to EDUBB? What's the numbers on that? Or are we going to settle it with the splits? And I go from there.
Makes sense. I mean, we talk to a lot of bands and musicians and stuff on here, but it's kind of the same thing in your world, like you need to find that producer where you guys have like some sort of harmony within what you're
Mm.
trying to do. Like you're both connecting through the music and you're seeing a vision
Yep.
of where the track's going to go, because like you said, that
Yep.
emotional side is in there. So if you've got a
Mm.
producer that's just bashing out a beat to get paid, or just a random beat, it doesn't make sense. So it
Yep.
just takes the track to like another level.
Absolutely. Like you said, when it is personal, and you have, a lot of times too, you'll see nowadays, you're listening to a beat, and the beat might be a complex beat, but it's just a loop. It's just looping and looping. And then they put a drop here and then it goes out, things like that. And I noticed that, uh, it was nothing worse to me than when somebody would say, "Oh man, this is a dope beat, I mean, this song is dope, but it's boring." when I started hearing that a lot, okay, cool. We love your lyrics, but the music's boring. That's when I knew I had to make a change.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's about taking people on a journey with the music as well as the lyrics, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
having that story within there. Um, so what's the plans now? What are you focused on at the moment? Are you recording new stuff? What's kind of the near term and I guess the long term focus for you?
Yeah, right now, I'm actually working on an EP right now. I'm working on two albums that are separate albums slated for release in 2024. Um, the goal was to secure major distribution at the very least, which right now I distribute via Vidya. But so that's the reason why I've been holding off. But I mean, I probably have minimal 50 songs that are ready to go right now. So it's a matter of, getting their rollouts together and making sure that I get them released and they're not just going, to a dead zone or just sending them out to the air and then they're forgotten. I did that a lot when I first came out, where I would just, as an artist, you're excited for your music, the way you expect your fans to be, so it's like, oh man, I can't wait. I want everybody to hear this. But it's nothing worse than when you release something and it literally, like, it has no traction or whatever. So I've been focused on being a student of music, being a student of the industry and learning how things work, and, seeing how, you gotta you kind of gotta beat it into their heads. They gotta hear it so often that it becomes annoying, like, oh man, and then it goes from that annoying phase to I really like this. This is really good, man. He really put some thought into this. So I think that's where I'm at with it now. I'm trying to perfect my release strategy prior to releasing, because as an independent artist, it is a lot different than if you had a major machine behind you pushing you.
Yeah, I guess the hardest challenge, I mean, obviously, once you put together a great track, it's like getting it out to the right people ultimately. And that's the tricky part because obviously, if you've got
Mm.
that major label behind you, they have that audience that they can push it to. And
Yep.
that makes it a lot trickier. You said you played shows as well. What has been your experience playing shows to date, and how do you kind of balance that with releasing stuff?
Hold on, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. What has been your
I,
experience with the playing shows to date, and how do you balance that with your releases?
yeah, it's crazy because I always tell people, I say, if you come see me live, you're gonna always get something that ain't out yet. Always. And that's always been like an incentive for people to come see me live. I've performed since February, because I started performing in February. I really got back out to it. I performed over 70 times, while working, 40 to 60 hours a week, so I'm juggling work, I'm juggling my home life because, I am a father and I got a wife, so my day, a typical day with EDUBB, right? This it's better for me to tell you like this. Typical day with EDUBB. I get up in the morning. All right, my wife's from New York. She don't want to drive. Okay, it's Uber everywhere. All right, I get up in the morning. I take her to work. Come back from taking her to work. Uh, you know, make sure my son eat breakfast. Get him dressed. He goes to the bus stop. Okay, take him to the bus stop. Now I come home. I have a second to myself, literally, if I'm lucky. Okay, I take that second to myself. you know, I could do anything. I might do something around the house. So, hey, let me cut the grass, or, let me mop the floor in the kitchen. Let me do some laundry. All right, cool. Now that's done. Around 1, let me go pick my wife up real fast. Go pick her up, bring her home. Now I'm going to work. I work 2 to 10. Get to work at 2, get off at 10. If some nights I decide I'm doing overtime if I have nothing to do, and then it's another mandatory 8-hour shift when I do that. Otherwise, it's you have a show tonight. So I get off at 10, I run home, get a shower. Hey, I'm calling on the way home. Babe, listen, I need to make the most of this time. Do you need anything while I'm out? If you need anything from the store, tell me now. She tell me what she need. I pick it up, go home, get my shower. Hey, you gonna eat? I eat when I get back. I hate performing on a full stomach, right? I eat when I get back. All right, cool. Go out, perform, finish performing around one-ish, get in the house, and then start over again, you know? And it got to the point where this was regular for me. I mean, I was performing so often that, I might have had 2, 3 nights during the week where I got a show, and then, the weekend. However, right now, I've slowed down a lot only because we're expecting twins. So got yeah, yeah. Oh, I can't hear you. It looked like your mic's muted.
Yeah, congratulations. Sorry, I do mute when the guests are talking, so there's
Oh,
no
okay,
background
okay,
noise or
okay.
anything. So no worries at all there. But yeah,
No,
congratulations on the twins. That's a lot to balance. Um,
yeah,
but I think it's quite inspiring that you still find time for the music, and obviously it means so much to you. But I guess as you grow, you can kind of do less shows and do bigger releases and do bigger shows, if that makes sense.
absolutely. Shows that make sense, because that's another thing too. I'm an artist that performs with raw vocals. I don't like, and I'm not saying I don't like it for other artists. I'm saying I don't like it for me, right? Uh, I grew up in an era where, you went to see an artist and I heard the artist. I mean, it wasn't the era where you play your song and just jump around to it. You rocking out with your song playing and you trying to get the crowd lit. Yep, yep, turn up. Like, because that's what I've seen a few times recently. So I was like, you know what? I never want to be that artist, but I also don't want to be the artist that's yelling over top of my music neither. So a lot of times, now that I've, progressed and got, developed a lot more as an artist, I do realize that that's not always feasible. It's not always realistic to think that, I'm gonna come out with a song with stacked vocals. I'm gonna turn up into double commodity. Roll by myself. I don't need no camaraderie. Heated the CD, they gave me the lock. I gain the momentum. Ain't nobody stopping me. You feel me? Like I can't carry that energy for a whole show. It's not gonna happen. So because of that, I got a lot more respect for that aspect than I did before. I realized that professionally, you're gonna have pockets where realistically you gotta have backing vocals.
100%. I mean, you can't do it all yourself, and that's the thing. Like the more like support you have around you on stage, it just means that you can make a bigger sound, and you can put more into the performance. Because if you've got to do
Yep.
everything, then you can't put as much energy into it. It's just not possible,
Yeah,
And at the end
it's
of the
not.
day, it's about like putting on the best show for that audience.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's go for a different sort of angle now. So, do you want to talk me through like some of the sort of biggest struggles that you've had as an artist so far, and also some of the biggest lessons you've learned?
Absolutely, absolutely. We could definitely start with the struggles. The biggest struggle as an artist that I have right now, and I made a song about this too. I made a song called "Crying Out." It'll be released in here, for sure. To be out by April. I'm not. I haven't got a date yet, but the biggest struggle as an artist is finding, uh, you know, the motivation within yourself to continue to go when you feel like you all by yourself. When you first start doing music, and I thought it was just my journey, and as I speak to other artists, I realized that, this is just the name of it. I mean, people are all for it when you start, and I'm talking about your support, not even like fans. I'm talking about your immediate support, right? Like your family, your close friends. When you first start, it's like I feel like everybody sees it like it's gonna be an overnight thing. They're excited because they're like, "Yo, he's really good, man." Oh, they want to be there, they want to support. You know, you have shows, man. You got all the support in the world. You look in the crowd and you see the reflection of you. You see your people. You know, and the more shows you do, the more redundant it becomes. The more you know, uh, people start to fall off. People start, you know, they already know what they to expect of you. They know you're gonna go out, you're gonna have a good show, but when it got to the point where, I was getting, better reception from, people who didn't know me at all. It made it really, really, really hard to keep going, to keep pushing. And then I realized, like I said, I mean, you know, my love is for the music itself. Like I said before, this is my therapy, right? And ever since I started thinking like that, it's been I got a newfound passion for it that I didn't have before, or let's say that, where the flame was rekindled, put it that way. It's like I feel like I'm back. I'm back. Also, you can't do it on your own. That was one of my struggles also, doing it all by myself. Uh, Financially, pulling way too much money out of my household, without a real developed plan to bring it back into my household. And, that really, really hurt me a lot also. I struggle with that because, you're watching, your bank account just drop. And I mean, we were traveling the US everywhere. I mean, I've performed in, you know, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta. And I mean, sometimes you're going to these places and, as an independent artist, you hear, oh, come out, you're going to benefit so much. And then you get there and you perform and it is minimal, gain. You gain 10 fans. Okay. All right, cool. That's awesome. I got 10 fans. I'm extremely grateful for these 10 fans, but that still doesn't solve the problem here. The math ain't mathing. This equation ain't making no sense at all because I'm still at a negative in my bank account from doing this, And uh so that was real hard too. Like I said, independent artists doing it on your own financially, and I think people don't realize that, when you are an independent artist and you're trying to, come up, uh, it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money between, video shoots, studio time, travel, wardrobe. I got to the point where, man, look, I was like, man, this is fly. I can wear this again. And I'm being told, oh no, my wife's like, no, no, you'll never wear that again. And I'm like, hold up. People know that I'm not a millionaire yet. You hear that keyword yet? People know I'm not a millionaire yet. So it don't matter if I wear this again. Look at this shirt, it's crisp. I ain't got a drop of lint on it. And she's like, no, you're not doing that. So that's I think that was one of my biggest struggles. And the biggest lesson I've learned is every opportunity is an opportunity. Sometimes you know, it feel like an opportunity, because, you're looking at, you're trying to look for the best in every situation. But if it looked like a duck and quack like a duck, that's a duck, and a lot of times that's what you see. You get the promoters who are like, oh, come out, you're going to pay me. It's going to be 300 to get on my stage. And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, for 300, you get a 4-minute set. For 500, we're gonna give you 10. And in your head, you're like, whoa, you hear the value there? You're gonna give me 10 minutes for 200 more, you know? And it took me a while to get to the point where I realized, like, listen, if I'm coming to a show and I'm putting on a better performance than your headliner, and I paid something ain't right here. Something ain't right here, And that's when I said, you know what, I'm done with it. So I refuse. I do not pay. I repeat, I do not pay to perform anymore. At the very least, look, you're gonna cut my travel, my lodging, at the very least. And whatever day I missed, you're gonna take care of that too, because I still gotta go home, and live. But other than that, I mean, uh, other than that, I think the rest has been, it's been amazing, man. It's amazing to see, how you touch people.
Definitely. And I like what you said there because a lot of musicians think that it's kind of acceptable to pay to get on a big stage, but to be honest, like you should just set that from day one. Like, I'm not going to pay to play anywhere. I'm going to be paid or at least get my expenses covered. I think everyone should
Yeah.
just set that as a boundary because otherwise you get taken advantage of, to be honest, as an artist.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we actually nearly out of time. This time's just flown by. It's crazy. But is there
Mhm.
anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with as we close out?
Um, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want the audience to know I'm coming. You know, I said it in 23. Nah, I mean it in 24. I'm coming. I'm going to keep dropping. I could be found on all streaming platforms under EDUBB302 with two B's, EDUBB302. And reach out, man. Follow me on Instagram, all your social medias. I'll follow back. All right. You're not gonna get botted. It ain't gonna be a bot response. It's gonna be EDUB if you follow me on all platforms. And like I said, on Instagram, it's E_dub music 302. And if you lazy, just Google the name. Google EDUB302. You'll see what I've been doing. You'll see how I've been working. You'll see I'm authentic. I mean, even down to everything I've said here is gonna be backed up by what you see on my social media.
Perfect. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been really great. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate your time, man. And big ups to your show too. You made it possible. I think that's really, really dope of you, man. Have something like this where, an artist can get on here and tell their story, man. And it's just another way of connecting with your audience, man. I really appreciate that. And make sure you follow me on social media too, Dan. I
Don't worry, I
follow
will be.
back. I message. Make sure you do, all right? Nothing but love, man. I appreciate you.
Nice one. Thanks so much for your time. Take care. Really appreciate it.
You too. Thank you.
Nice one. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.